Hello and welcome to the Pickwatch podcast. I am Joyner, the football scientist. You may remember me from my long tenure with ESPN where I covered the NFL and fantasy football. I'm now on the independent path via my website, thefootballscientist.com, and I'm also writing a weekly pick'em article for Pickwatch.com. My Week 3 picks went 11-4, a 73.3% win rate that ranked tied for 6th highest in that week. For the season, my picks are 36-11, or a 76.6% win rate that ranks tied for 6th highest among the 100-plus analysts tracked by Pickwatch.com. Here are my Week 4 picks. Each section details which team is predicted to win and provides a quick summary of why that selection was made. The picks also contain a confidence value for each selection based on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being the most confident and 1 being the least confident. The Pittsburgh at Tennessee and Minnesota at Houston selections will be delayed until later this week due to the COVID-19 situation currently impacting those clubs. Now on to the picks. Let's start with the Thursday night game of Denver at the New York Jets. This is a matchup of two dreadful teams, but the Jets are actually putting up solid numbers on the defensive side of the ball. Gangrene's defense ranks tied for 17th in yards per play, tied for 15th in first downs allowed, and 12th in pass pressure rate. Combine those metrics with Denver's slew of injuries, a cross-country short week road trip, and starting a third-string quarterback, and it leads to this pick landing in the Jets column with a confidence level of 2. Next up is Arizona at Carolina. These two teams are trending in opposite directions, as the Panthers played their best game of the season in defeating the Chargers last week, while the Cardinals had their worst game of the year in allowing the mediocre Lions to notch a road win. Having noted this, the Cardinals have nearly across-the-board matchup advantages and should put up a high total against the Carolina defense that ranks near the bottom of the league in pass pressure rate. Those elements put this contest into the Cardinals column with a fairly solid confidence level of 6. Now let's take a look at Indianapolis at Chicago. The Colts' offensive line might be the best in the league right now, as they are blocking at a midseason form in the ground game and at the 4th lowest pass pressure rate allowed. Chicago's defense has one of the worst pass pressure marks in the league, and their rush defense has been run-of-the-mill, so the Colts' O-line should be able to dominate this contest. Indianapolis also has an overpowering defense that leads the league in yards per play and points allowed. The Bears have been finding ways to win despite not playing well, but that streak is very likely to end in this contest, so the Colts are the selection with a confidence level of 7. This should be an interesting contest. Jacksonville at Cincinnati. The Jacksonville offense has taken the brunt of the blame for the dismal loss to the Dolphins in Week 3, yet the reality is the Jaguars' pass defense is equally culpable for the team's 1-2 mark. Jacksonville ranks tied for 30th in net yards allowed per pass attempt, in part because opposing teams have racked up the 3rd highest air yards per attempt against the Jaguars, per Pro Football Reference. Cincinnati's pass offense has the 2nd highest intended air yards total this season, and thus they will target this weakness early and often. James Robinson should get some big plays against the Bengals' abysmal rush defense, so this game will be close, but the Bengals' pass game advantage makes them the pick here by a slight margin with a confidence level of 2. Here's another intriguing matchup, Cleveland at Dallas. The Browns have one of the best rushing attacks in the league, as Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt have led Cleveland to pace tied for 3rd in rush yards and 4th in rush yards per attempt. That provides a path to victory for the Browns, but Dallas leads the league in offensive yards, is 6th in offensive yards per play, and tied for 6th in rushing touchdowns. Since both of these defenses rank in the bottom 10 of the league in points allowed, it means Dallas has more paths to victory and earns this pick with a solid confidence level of 5. Now let's take a look at New Orleans and Detroit. The Saints have scored 24 or more points in each contest this year and posted 30 or more in 2 games, but don't let that trend obscure the fact that New Orleans' pass offense is in a bad way. The Saints have averaged only 4.8 air yards per attempt this year, a pace that is easily in last place and 1.2 yards behind the next lowest team in that category per Pro Football Reference. The Lions' pass defense might afford some chances to fix that, but the Saints will not to lean in their ground game to take advantage of Detroit allowing an abysmal 5.7 yards per carry. That factor will likely be too much for the Silver and Blue to overcome, so give this one to the Saints by a reasonable margin with a confidence level of 4. This could be an interesting game, Seattle at Miami. This has trap game written all over it for the Seahawks. Per a Pro Football Talk Pro Football Reference report, Seattle is the first team in NFL history to allow 1,200-plus passing yards in the first 3 weeks of a season. Miami has racked up 59 points over the past 2 games and put up 311 passing yards against a strong Buffalo defense in Week 2. The Seahawks just got through with 2 highly emotional games against New England and Dallas, and had the longest air miles total in Week 4. Even with all those factors potentially leading to a trap, the pick here is going to be a Seattle, but by a very small margin with a confidence level of 2. Next up is the LA Chargers at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's hit-or-miss passing game under Tom Brady has come under a lot of scrutiny, which is unfortunate because it masks how impactful the Bucs defense has been so far this year. Tampa Bay's defense ranks tied for third in sacks, tied for second in interceptions, tied for fourth in touchdown pass percentage, and second in tackles for loss. The Chargers have a more than 2,000-mile road trip to face this defense, and will do so with either a potentially rusty Tyrod Taylor or with risk-taking rookie Justin Herbert. Either option isn't a plus, and it leads to Tampa Bay being the pick here with a confidence level of 5. Now let's look at what should be the mismatch of Week 4, Baltimore at Washington. There's a classic Jim Croce song that warns about the dangers of pulling on Superman's cape. That's the situation that Washington will unfortunately be in this week, as the powerhouse Ravens will be extraordinarily motivated to show the world that the Monday Night debacle was an ugly bump on the road and not the true barometer of this team. Washington's abysmal offense has the third lowest scoring drive rate in the league and will be no match for Baltimore's dominant defense, while the Ravens' offense should continue its 30-plus point per game average. This is one of the most confident picks of the year, as it earns a rare 10 confidence level. Imagine if you could get 100-to-1 odds on one of the highest confidence level picks of the year. You'd have to be crazy not to take those odds, right? Well, that's exactly what you can get in DraftKings Sportsbook's introductory 100-to-1 odds promotion. Just click on the link below to sign up, make a minimum $5 deposit, pick which Week 4 game you want to apply the 100-to-1 odds to, and if you pick the winning team, you could turn a $1 wager into $100. Here's another potential mismatch, the New York Giants at the LA Rams. The Giants have by far the worst rushing attack in the league as they rank last in rush attempts, rush yards, and rush yards per attempt. This is a major factor in New York scoring progressively fewer points each week, as they went from 16 in Week 1 to 13 in Week 2 to 9 in Week 3. The Rams don't have an overpowering defense this year, but they are more than capable of holding the Giants in check in what is the third longest road trip of the week. Give this one to the Rams with a very strong confidence level of 8. Here's one of the marquee matchups of the week, New England at Kansas City. The Patriots have now shown that, outside of exceptions like facing a bad Seattle secondary, they are going to be a power rushing team this season. Kansas City wants to lean on the ground game more as well, as a way to keep from getting into shootout battles, but their Monday night contest against the Ravens shows that the Chiefs haven't forgotten how to throw the deep pass. That factor will be key, as New England's defense has the second highest touchdown pass percentage allowed this season. Bill Belichick's game plan will keep it close, but the Chiefs still land the pick here by a reasonable margin with a confidence level of 4. Who would have thought this matchup would be as interesting as it is? Buffalo at Las Vegas. There's a temptation to go with the Raiders in an upset pick here. Buffalo's high-powered offense is rightfully getting headlines, but the Bills' defense ranks 27th in pass yards allowed, 20th in defensive expected points allowed, and 16th in overall points allowed. That is an after effect of the Bills going with a pass-heavy approach, and it will eventually cost this team some games if they can't find a better balance to protect their defense. The Raiders' offense is powerful enough to challenge Buffalo and will make this game interesting, but Buffalo should win this game in a contest that could end up with 60 scoreboard points, but I'm going to pick Buffalo in this one with a confidence level of 3. This matchup sure looks a lot different than we all probably thought it was going to look coming into the year. Philadelphia at San Francisco. San Francisco showed how effective power football is last week when they dominated the New York Jets only a week after losing their starting quarterback and 2 of their best defensive players due to injury. Philadelphia's myriad offensive line and receiver injuries are a major factor in Carson Wentz's struggles this year, and those issues are now compounded by the loss of Dallas Goedert injury. Add in the second longest road trip of Week 4, and it equals a very confident selection for the 49ers with a confidence level of 8. How great would it be if you could get 100-to-1 odds on a highly favorable matchup like this one? It might sound too good to be true, but it actually isn't for those who take part in the DraftKings Sportsbook's amazing introductory 100-to-1 odds promotion. Just click in the link below, make a minimum $5 deposit, pick which Week 4 game you want to apply the 100-to-1 odds to, and if you pick the winning team, you could turn a $1 wager into $100. Let's close out with the Monday night matchup of Atlanta at Green Bay. Atlanta has arguably the worst defense in the NFL as they rank last in points allowed, tied for last in touchdown passes, and next to last in both overall yards and passing yards. The Falcons will have to try to correct these issues without 2 of their top cornerbacks this week, and will have to replace their kicker as well. Green Bay's O-line might be the best in the league, and they showcased their wide receiver depth last week. There are almost no factors that point towards an Atlanta win in this contest, so the Packers earn one of the highest confidence point totals in Week 4 with a confidence level of 9.